There were 3 tribute missions recorded, and Malacca was under the strategic protection of China because of the Straits of Malacca, and kept Java and the Thais at arm's length. So even when Southeast Asians protest friendship with China, that relationship is softened by an excess of courtesy on both sides. I still remember vividly in 2002, when the ASEAN-China FTA framework agreement was signed in Phnom Penh. Zhu Rongji went off script and he said to ASEAN leaders that China does not seek for itself an exclusive position in Southeast Asia. He understood the thinking of the people of Southeast Asia. Therefore, when other big powers see their presence in Southeast Asia as a zero-sum game, they are making a very big mistake. It does not mean that because we are close to China, we are not close to them. In fact, it is the opposite. The closer we are to China, the more we see our accounts growing, the more uncomfortable we are that our autonomy will be circumscribed. And therefore, we will welcome diversification. If the Americans do not insist on a choice, they are welcome in all corners of Southeast Asia.
We are sorry to interrupt you, but we noticed that 98% of you are returning viewers who have not subscribed. If you've enjoyed our content, subscribing would mean the world to us. It's a small click for you, but it makes a huge difference for us. Thank you for your support.
Japan has always been a friend. Europe, to me, is a free rider because the Europeans have no military presence here. Their interests are mostly economic. From time to time, they join an American alliance. But by and large, Europeans are welcome everywhere, despite the colonial history. And in fact, the colonial history, in some ways, has become a plus. As we enter a multipolar world, Southeast Asia will play an important role because of this history, this culture. We are the most diverse region in the world. Wang Gungwu once described Singapore as where the mandalas of India and China overlap. I would say that many mandalas overlap in Southeast Asia. Not just China and India, but also the West and all the great religious traditions. And not just Buddhism and Christianity and Islam, but all the forms of Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam are in Southeast Asia. Every country has different degrees of overlap of these mandalas, giving each of the 10 countries its special character. But in all of them, we meet the same mandalas, but in different intensities. And it is these mandalas which connect us to the wider world and make us such a welcoming region. No foreigner feels unwelcome in Southeast Asia. I mean, it's not just the climate, it's not just the balmy atmosphere, but it is the culture, it is the food, it is the easy acceptance of those who are not like ourselves. This gives us a special position as the world enters into a troubled phase. The crystallization of multipolarity will take many years. The Americans are not comfortable because for a long time they are used to being dominant. The West is not comfortable because they're also used to Western dominance, of their values being universal, of judging others against their own standards. But it's changing. I mean, the rise of China is perhaps the most stark, and therefore seen as a challenge, even as a threat. But it is not just China. India has shown that it is a satellite of nobody. There was a hope for a time that with Quad, somehow India would be in the Western alliance. But the Ukraine war has shown that India plays its own game and will sit on as many tables as it wants to sit on. And this in turn have given hope to others that they too can be different. Russia, of course, has come to the conclusion that it cannot be a part of the West without being absorbed by the West. But Russia has its own origin, its own history, and it has deep links to Asia. How this struggle between the West and Russia will pan out, we do not know. But I think the Western alliance is noticing that those not of the West are not taking sides. Yes, we make pious remarks in the UN, and Singapore has imposed limited sanctions on Russia. By and large, the rest of the world isn't taking sides. In the Middle East, in Africa, in Latin America, there's a sense that this is going to be a different world, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and we are positioning ourselves for that world. It will be a world full of conflict because multipolarity is not naturally stable and is inherently dynamic because some poles are strengthening, some are weakening. So there will be a need to meet, to talk, leave COVID behind us, meet each other as human beings, as brothers, and therefore resolve our differences. And in this world, I think ASEAN will play a very special role. It was very impressive the way President Jokowi handled a very tricky G20 because the Americans wanted Russia to be excluded. Of course, Russia could not be excluded. So Jokowi had to deftly handle a complicated field, which he did brilliantly. And then when they finally met in Bali, provided a milieu and atmosphere so friendly, so engaging, that even when leaders dislike one another, they had to smile at one another. And we recall how, for a brief moment, Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping engaged for maybe 1 minute. It was headline news all over India. I was told Modi might have contrived it because he's a skillful player of the media. But everyone else saw, everyone else drew conclusions. And this is the kind of role ASEAN plays. Not by interposing itself, by saying that we are right and you are wrong, and this is how the world should be, but just by being gracious, by showing respect, by nodding, by acknowledging, and in such a way, providing a solvent and emulsifier to break down divisions and make the region more comfortable, and hopefully the world a better place. Thank you.
What do you guys think? Do you think he is right when he said we must unite for a safer world at the end? Please leave your comment below. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you for making it this far. If you like this video, you might want to share it with a like-minded friend. Thank you, and as always, stay blessed.